Hello everyone, welcome back to Easy Education London, and today we are looking at unseen poetry. Now this is being sat this Wednesday for English Literature Paper 2. Now the first question is going to be worth 24 marks, and for the first question what I would recommend for students to do is to look at the connotations of the title, and often the title gives you clues of what the poem will be about. And also identify the poetic devices such as simile, metaphor, and sibilance. So that's for the first question. And then you'll have a second question for your unseen poetry, which will be 8 marks. Now, again, you need to pick out certain things. You need to look at the language, the structure, and the form. Now, for unseen poetry, how do you score top marks? So first of all, you must examine the meaning behind the text. So look at the meanings behind the key words, the key phrases. Secondly, comment on how the author has used structure, form, imagery, and language to create meaning. So this is very important for you to consider. Now, in terms of time management, for Paper 2, Section C, I'd recommend 30 to 35 minutes on the 24 marker and the remaining time for the shorter 8 marker. Now, just some top tips for you to remember and some important factors here as well. So remember, you can analyze structure. A lot of students forget this. You can in fact analyze structure. So what does that include? That includes a rhyme scheme, that includes a syllable line length. Also, remember to link your points about themes and perspectives, and gather your key quotes which link. Find quotes that link with one another because that will save you time. Now, what do you need to do for the top marks? In simple terms, use a range of quotes. Okay, so obviously using a variety of quotations to support your point. Detailed analysis of 1 to 2 quotes with poetic device. So try to explore the effect on the reader. And what is the exact effect of using the poetic device? Attempt to comment on the structure and link this back to the question. And try and include 3 different interpretations, because that impresses the examiner and that shows the examiner you have an in-depth understanding of the poem. Now, 3 things you need to know for unseen poetry. In simple terms, language, so that includes anaphora, analogy, assonance, alliteration, colloquialism, emotive language, hyperbole, irony, metaphor, oxymoron, personification, pathetic fallacy, plosives, repetition, sibilance, simile, and zoomorphism. So for sure you will be able to find and identify these in your exams. You may not find all of them, of course, but you should be able to find at least 1 or 2, possibly more. Secondly, structure. So when you look at structure, you also need to look at form because they go hand in hand. So in terms of structure, you can look at enjambment, caesura, narrative tone, flashbacks, chronological order, and in media res. And what is form? Form is how the poem appears and the physical organization of the stanzas. So for example, a monologue, is it a dialogue, is it a quatrain, or a blank verse? So these are things that you want to comment on in terms of form. And the final one is our content and ideas, number 3. So how are the ideas expressed and what is the content about exactly? So the explicit and the implicit. So what are the obvious things that are highlighted and the not so obvious things that are also highlighted? So these are the 3 things you need to remember for unseen poetry: language, structure plus form, and finally content and ideas. Now, how to tackle the 8 marker? What do you have to do? You have to compare the similarities or the differences between the 2 poems. Try to aim for 2 long detailed paragraphs on the 2 comparative points. Attempt to comment on structure, poetic techniques, and how the message the writer is trying to convey affects the reader. Very important. And some sentence starters for you to use in your essay. These include the following. The poet has chosen the simile ... The use of repetition suggests ... Alternatively, the poet may be ... And perhaps the poet wants the reader to realize ... So obviously you'll fill in the gaps after. Now, unseen poetry, often what you would find is you may find similarities with one of the 15 poems that you have studied. So it's not necessarily difficult, or it's not challenging, to be honest, because you should be able to find some similarities or even differences between the Power and Conflict anthology. And remember, please be cautious with your time. Your time management is essential for this exam. And as mentioned previously in all our videos, you have to write an answer which is tailored to the mark scheme for AO1, AO2 and AO3. And that takes us towards the end of the video. Please subscribe, like and share Easy Education London for more. Thank you.